In a country where individual freedom should be honored and protected, so-called anti-fascist protesters are actively trying to shut down any point of view that doesn't align with their liberal sensibilities.
Violence and property destruction led to more than 200 arrests in Washington, D.C. on Inauguration Day. Prosecutors say they were wearing masks covered head to toe in black, a tactic the Antifa call Black Bloc.
Well, America is plagued by the specter of fascist violence, and in an ironic twist, these fascists call themselves anti-fascist, Antifa. Whenever conservatives want to speak on campus or hold a rally, Antifa groups are a reliable presence, and they routinely try to stamp out speech using vigilante violence, which they perversely justify as a form of self-defense.
The real problem with these really hardcore lefties that are outraged and want to do something, and they want to be positive, so they want to shut down all these people like Milo that they think are Nazis, or Ann Coulter and all these people. But by doing that and by having these gigantic protests and literally shutting down people communicating and talking, you invite people to resist that. And then you start these Antifa people who hit people on the head with bike locks. You see, they found out it was a professor that was hitting people in the head with bike locks.
It's okay to be violent and radical if you're on the left, and the media will legitimize it. They will authenticate it, and they won't call out, they won't disavow their fringe extremists. Like, we've never denied that the right or conservatives, whatever, have fringe extremists. We disavow them. They don't. They encourage them. Now they're working with the convicted domestic terrorist, Bill Ayers. They're pepper spraying people. They're punching them in the face. They're stabbing people.
Antifa really exploded into the headlines in response to the disruption of the Milo Yiannopoulos event back at UC Berkeley in February, where masked Antifa broke windows and created enough of a disruption for the university to cancel the event. This created a lot of debates around different tactics for opposing the far right and questions around free speech.
Video taken inside a car. The people in it watched as the car was being attacked by so-called anti-fascist rioters in Berkeley, California. Let's take a look.
What's up?
We're hungry
for
supremacists.
In there, huh?
We're real hungry for supremacists.
No, we're not.
And there's more of us.
You guys throw a racist mother. Y'all come from Washington.
That was a threat. I grew up listening to people talk about peace and unity and free speech in my classroom, and to have this happen at what was supposed to be a free speech rally, being targeted and attacked for holding up a sign that says, "Let's just have a conversation," I don't know what to believe anymore. I feel like now that everyone in Berkeley is now a hypocrite.
Richard Spencer, who publishes on altright.com, publishes an article on July 28th by a man named Vincent Law, where the headline was, "To protect free speech, get rid of democracy." We really have to...
You know what? Okay, so let's use that example. I disagree with that. I haven't seen the piece, but it doesn't sound like something I'd agree with.
It's not.
Does Richard Spencer have a right to speak in public?
Richard Spencer is a danger to society. When he speaks in public, what he is doing, he is publicly recruiting people to his very violent movement, very violent ideology.
So does he have a right to speak in public?
I don't think he has a right to speak in public unopposed, and that is ultimately what the purpose of Antifa is to show up and oppose him.
Despite wanting to put distance between themselves and Antifa, and despite what resident gay Asian SJW in chief George Takei tweets out, Antifa has never operated alone. They've been actively supported by professors and other leftist and student organizations. For example, current University of Utah faculty like Cindy Geraldine, Solomon Kleppa, and Alinda McKenna encouraged and emboldened students to disrupt the Ben Shapiro event and to create chaos.
People like Ben Shapiro are the most dangerous people on this earth. And we're gonna fight him tomorrow, aren't we?
Yes. Solidarity. And student organizations like the Students for a Democratic Society, because that's the thing, not only work alongside Antifa when convenient, but work with them to scope out police and even to provide pseudo-security by committing acts of violence. See, the ultimate problem with Antifa and the organizations and professors who support them is that because they paint their opposition as Nazis, they've developed their very own unique code as to what warrants a violent response. They are ready and looking for it.
Okay, we're gonna take the knife. How much of you bring your gun?
I have like on the border between just a regular rifle and an assault weapon and a sawed-off style shotgun.
And then I've got a handgun. Yeah, you got 2 AKs coming, you're just gonna do.
Now, context, don't forget. What you gotta do can include violence against anyone you call a Nazi. They call Ben Shapiro a Nazi. They're allowed to commit violence against anyone filming them. And just how violent can they get?
If you go down to like the military surplus store, the Navy surplus store, whatever, you can get like a K-bar for like 30, 40 bucks. And it's just a combat knife, it's a fixed blade, 5 inches or so, but it's just, you strap it on your leg and you're good to go. I mean, this one's like tiny, so you have to really stab them though.
But it's not opposition. You shut people down, you prevent them from speaking, and you commit violence against them. I know a number of people, well, don't tell me it's untrue, I know people who've been knocked down and beaten by people from Antifa. So that is true, it does happen, we have it on tape, we just roll the tape.
Right. I believe that communities have the right to defend themselves against threats to their community.
Against ideas they don't like.
No,
they have a right to commit
against
violence.
People who have explicitly said that they want to eliminate those people from our society.
But you're conflating violence with ideas.
No,
if I have not raised my hand to strike you, you have no right to strike me.
But in order to raise your hand to strike me, you have to think that you're going to strike me. And when you are going out in public as a protester, explicitly saying that you want to eliminate most of the people from this country, I believe most of the people in this country have the right to say, no, that's not okay.
Okay, but you absolutely have a right to say it's not okay. What you don't have a right is to prevent me from saying what I think, even if you disagree, and you definitely don't have a right to commit violence against me. And you're blurring the lines there.
We cover our face because the Nazis will try to find out who we are. And that is a very bad thing because they harass people. When they organize, they kill people, they hurt people, they fight people. And we're the ones who are fighting back. They are the second coming of Hitler.
The first line of defense is just finding out who the local Nazis are. People will post online with Nazi flags and post about the marginalized groups they want to kill. And when we find those posts, we save them, we send them to employers, finding ways to disrupt their organizing online, track them down and figure out where they live and try and make sure that they don't feel comfortable.
Here's the thing, Antifa and its supporters are openly practicing violence. Worse, they plan it. They plan to escalate it, as you can see. Now, if they call Ben Shapiro or me a Nazi, what does that make you? If they justify violence against someone with, I don't know, an iPhone camera, what can they do to you?